Thank you. Hi, vey. It's good to be back.
It's great. Well, obviously, it's such a great pleasure for me to interview you, and it's not an easy task, because.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
Just fire away.
I will. And I just want to ask you, what took you so long? 20 years over? What I mean, it's just a short flight, not that long a flight, and I think you can, you can take a business
The flight.
coach.
No, not coach.
I mean, business. You can take your business
The
class.
flight was 15 hours.
Okay.
That's a long time on a plane. The comforting part is when you fly El Al, because when you're Jewish and you're from Brooklyn and you began your career in Miami Beach, to go on an airplane that's like in Hebrew, where the captain's name is Goldberg, you feel like you're home as soon as you get on the plane. Why it took so long to come back, I have no good excuse for that. I've just been working hard. I'm a hard worker, and I tend to work all my life, and I've worked 6 days a week, and I just never got the chance. In the interim, I've been to many countries, spoken to many countries. I've been to Portugal and Moscow and Mexico City and Kiev and pretty much all over. I like speaking. I like meeting people. But I'm glad to be back in Israel. I was supposed to bring my wife, but she's going to come when we make a family trip. So I'll bring her. She's not Jewish. She's a Mormon. I don't understand it either.
Number 8. Yes, wife number 8. Oh, I dropped it. Okay, so you say you're coming back. It's not going to take another 20 years since we see you again.
Your lips to God. No, it will not take 20 years.
Okay, great. Now, would it be fair to say that the headline of this visit is "I'm here because I care"?
Oh, I care about a lot of things, but I'm a passionate person. I care about the world around me. I care about other people. I'm intensely curious. I am really a curious freak. I mean, I can remember being a kid, I would ask the bus driver, why do you want to drive a bus? No, I can't. You do not want to sit next to me on an airplane. Because I never stopped asking questions. So I'm here because I'm curious to see first how incredible this country has grown. I mean, I've just been in Tel Aviv. I'll be in Jerusalem tomorrow. When I came here 22 years ago, we stayed at the Dan Hotel.
In Tel Aviv.
In Tel Aviv, and then the rest of the time was in Jerusalem. And I don't remember the Tel Aviv of 22 years ago like this Tel Aviv today. I mean, it's incredible, the growth of this country. And of course, I feel bound to this country. Listen, when I was a kid in New York, in Brooklyn, we had little blue banks and that was to give money for the support of the state of Israel. Yeah. That's right, and this was before there was a state of Israel. So I used to give pennies and dimes, and we were very poor. But we had our little blue box, and when it filled up, you'd give it for help the formation of the state of Israel. So I've always felt tremendous ties to this country.
And I thought it would be fair to say that this would be the headline of your visit, because you're not just here because you missed us and because we invited you, but also because you're bringing with you a very fascinating movie that I've already seen. It's going to be aired tomorrow at 10:30 on Channel 2. And it's called The Israeli Factor. And actually it is, I think, expressing your concern about the connections between, you and I, you being the Jews in the States, and I being us in Israel. What's the story behind that movie?
Well, it deals a lot with children. I went to this Jewish camp in Malibu, a wonderful group of kids, and then talked with adults as well, trying to forge that link between the Jew, the young Jew, and older Jew in America with the Jew here. And the fear that many have is that that link is somehow fading, that the young Jew in America doesn't feel the tie to Israel that, say, I do, or people my age or maybe a little younger feel to Israel.
So let's see a clip from that movie, okay?
Sure. I still remember summers I spent at camp in New York, and I remember how a big part of my experience was about forging strong emotional ties to Israel. But a lot has changed since I was a kid.
Hey guys, let's welcome Larry to JCA.
According to the Ministry of Diaspora in Israel, only 10 to 15% of Jewish Americans put their children through a Jewish education system, formal or informal. And for many, camp and Sunday school are where they get a Jewish education. This summer, for example, there were 100,000 kids in Jewish camps all over the United States. This out of a potential of 900,000. Why does this matter for Israelis? Well, this new generation of Jews is the future United States Jewish lobby, the ones who go to bat for the Israel state in Washington when the going gets tough. Now, if these kids don't feel a connection to Israel, could we be in danger of losing this major strategic asset, the lobby that safeguards bipartisanism support for Israel in our Congress? This would possibly be more dangerous to Israel than any nuclear deal with Iran. When people say Israel to you, what is the first thing you think?
I know what's going on there right now. There's a war between the Israelis and Iran.
Well, they haven't started a war yet.
Also,
Won't be a
there's
war.
a war between Israel, like the yeah.
ISIS?
Yeah.
You don't think ISIS is near Israel?
There was a war, like a few months ago, between Israel and ISIS.
Do you know where ISIS is right now?
They're all over. They're all over. They're a danger, but they're not near Israel yet.
So this is a short, really, the movie is fascinating. And you know, obviously, when I found out I was going to interview you, it's quite a challenge. I was thinking what I'm going to ask you, and you know all the all the tricks and all the questions. And then I understood you made my job very easy, because all I have to do is turn the table and take the questions you ask the kid and ask you. Now, obviously, you ask the kids in the movie, who is the Prime Minister of Israel? Now, of course, I'm not going to ask you, because next to Ben-Gurion, you've interviewed every single Prime Minister Israel had.
I have, and Bibi, I know forever. I first met him. I first met him when he was ambassador to the UN. We do a Yitzhak Rabin dinner in New York every year, supporting the Yitzhak Rabin Hospital here, and Bibi has spoken at that dinner, so I've introduced him. I've interviewed him at least 5 or 6 times. Had dinner with him in Washington.
Do you think he's a hard guy to interview?
And he drove me to the airport when I was here 22 years ago. It was at a time when he wasn't in office, and I had spent the day in Jerusalem, and he drove me from Jerusalem. I was here with my brother and my late agent, Bob Wolf, and he drove us to the airport. So I've always felt close to him. I don't always agree with him. In Israel, you could have 10 Jews, 11 opinions. So nobody agrees with anyone every time. But
Trust me, we're going to get to that. I'm going to ask you about.
Personally, I like him a lot.
You like him a lot personally, but I'm going to start with those questions you ask your kids, because I think they're fascinating for our conversation. And so you ask the kids, how do you identify yourself? So, Mr. King, how do you identify yourself?
I'm an American whose nationality is American, whose race and religion is Jewish, although I stopped practicing the religion a long time ago. But I'm very culturally Jewish. That's not a cop-out. I stopped believing in a higher being the more I interviewed religious leaders. And that came to me from early training by rabbis. Because when I was a kid, rabbis said to me, label a question. Always question. If I say it, you don't have to believe it. So I always questioned. So the more I've questioned, the less I get answers. So I can't make that leap of faith which dogma religion requires. I can't believe that someone is looking down on me, that I'm being watched. There's a place I go to. I hope they're right. I hope I go somewhere, but it's just a hope. So I'm very culturally Jewish. I love my Jewish foods. I love Jewish literature. I love the novelists. I love the writers. I love the comedians, the talent. I love the feeling of being Jewish. I like being in Israel where I see all the signs in Hebrew. And in Israel, you see Jews like we don't see in America.
In what way?
Cops. Whoever heard of a Jewish cop in America? We have in fact, I was invited to speak once. There's an organization called Shamram. These are Jewish police officers. They called me up and said, would you speak at our get-together? And I said, where do you meet, in a phone booth? No, but here there were Jewish firemen, Jewish laborers. You know, I mean, it's a Jewish state. So I take a lot of pride in it. So I am all those things. I'm a cultural Jew who's an American, who has close and feeling ties to this state of Israel.
So do you feel at home here when you come here?
Yeah, I feel at home. I like the people, I like the attitude. I'm very comfortable. I don't come here in fear. I don't, you know, I have a great deal of feeling for the people. Sure, I feel a tie. But there's a tie between, you know, more humans are alike than different. When I came here 22 years ago, I went to Hannah Ashrawi's house. I believe she's still
She's active.
Official in the Palestinians. And she was a very strong friend of Arafat, and she had guested on my show a few times. So she invited me to come onto the West Bank to her home. And I was here with my brother, as I say, and my agent, and I went to Sharon's house, and I had a fabulous time. I went to the Knesset. It was a great time. Spent time with Yitzhak Rabin. So I went to Hannah Ashrawi's house. And I've always told that Palestinians and Jews are like first cousins. Isaac and Esau, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But and the driver was afraid to go into you know, he was wary about going into that neighborhood. I went to Hannah Ashrawi's house, and I said, I wonder what it's going to be like. We walk in. Here's Hannah Ashrawi. You're not staying for dinner? I made a whole dinner. Come, look at my house. Look at what we put together. I was at my mother's. This was a Palestinian woman. I was at my mother's. So that ties of humankind are always there. And I sent out a tweet last week. I've never understood 3 things in life I've never understood. I've never understood bigotry. I've never understood why someone would hate someone for no reason but their color or their faith or their non-faith. What does it bother you? Or their sexual attitude. What do you care? What do you care? Why do you lose sleep if there's a gay couple? What do you care? And that just bugs me no end. And I hate war. I hate the idea of people killing people. It just, what is the gain of that? It just bugs me.
Yeah, I think it beats everyone.
I don't understand it. I just don't.
We don't understand it keeps on going, but you know what, can I be off guard? Could I ask you to open your shirt?
You know,
just one button. Just one button. That's all. I'm not going to ask for more.
Like many women, Donna, I know you want me. I knew you wanted me as soon as I walked out here. It was obvious, and I sensed that dynamo.
But I want you to see what he has under his shirt, because then the first question would have been,
I have a tie.
Can you see that?
This guy is 47 years old. I got it the day my daughter was born, and her name is Chaya, C-H-A-I-A, Chaya, and the other is
Magen David.
the Jewish Star. Yeah. So the other Jewish Star I've had about 20 years, and the Chai about 47 years.
Now, the reason I asked you
And
to
there's
open the
also
shirt,
a line here for when I had heart surgery.
too much information.
You want me to go down further?
No. You know, I have
Hey,
a
what are you afraid
but I
of?
have a reputation to keep. I'm just starting or in the middle of my career. I still have to think about my viewers. But anyway, I didn't ask you to open your shirt just because it was a nice thing, and I did want them to see the necklace. But I was wondering, I mean, you say you feel utterly cultural Jewish and that you feel at home here, and you wear it on the closest possible spot in your body. Do you think it's the same with your kids and your grandchildren?
No, it's not. It's a changing mode. I don't know if that's true. I know there are great signs of anti-Semitism in Europe, which, again, anti-anything boggles me. My kids are the product of a mixed marriage, so they understand my Jewish values. But I agreed with my wife when we got married that since I am a non-believer and she is a believer, it's good to have structure. So they go to church. Now, my 16-year-old, I don't know if he's that much into church as, I don't know what effect I've had. I don't preach them, but they know how I feel, that they respect it. And the younger one, he goes to church regularly. And it's good that they get a good education, a solid foundation. And as I tell them, I want them to find their own path. They know that they are half Jewish, but no, that in America, first, there's been a lot of intermarriage. And second, there are so many things, and then Americans have heard all their lives about the Middle East. And their tie is to Israel, but it boggles some of the political moves, boggle them when settlements were built. A lot of Americans were bothered by that. The Jewish community in America still feels the ties to Israel. It'll still vote basically the Democratic Party. The Republicans offer a lot of support for Israel, but the Jews are basically tied. That's not a secret. But it's very hard to get the children to think about things. I'll tell you the enemy of all of this is the damn iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. I have a flip phone. I don't send texts. I could receive a text. And I'm a product of the modern thing. I mean, I'm on the internet every day on Hulu. I'm on Orati.tv.
You got 2.5 million followers on Twitter, and you tweet regularly.
I tweet out. I send Twitters on Sunday. But my kids, that's all they're on. I've never seen them. They're both great athletes and very sports fans. I've never seen either one, 16 and 15, read a newspaper. So if I called them in and said, let's talk about the Middle East, the what? Is that a game? Maybe that's a new action game, you know? War in the Middle East, we'll play that.
It is an action game, it's not new.
That's right. So I think that's a real difficult, it's a challenge. One of the ways, this birth movement is a pretty good idea. Where they bring many Jewish youngsters over to Israel. That is a great idea.
But in the movie, you talk about this challenge, and you say you're worried. So, well,
I'd love to have people have more ties. But a lot of people, you know, I know Jews we feel ourselves special, you know, the chosen people, which is a bad break God gave us. Why do we have to be chosen? But chosen for what? But the Italian Americans don't feel a strong tie to Italy. I don't feel that. German Americans to Germany. But Israel was born in revolution as America was born in revolution. Israel is a state of mind and a state of being. The Jews are a race and a religion. It's a very unusual thing, and I wish that the children knew more about it. And that's up to educators.
It's up to
I think schools have to teach it more. You know, I think.
Yeah, that's about Jewish education abroad. But I wanted to ask you, and you do ask that in the movie, and I was interested to hear your answer. What role does Israel play in this distancing of relations? I mean, Israel, its policy, its conduct, does it make things different for this generation?
Well, I guess Israel has it's a small, it's 8 million people, and more people live in New York than live in Israel. More people live in Los Angeles. So it has a role to play. I don't know, it has budgetary questions. Sure, Israel should have more information centers in the United States. They do a good job with tourism, I think. They got to encourage tourism, that interchange of ideas. But a lot of people think of Israel as a political state, and there's always war, and they're always fighting, and they're always disagreeing, and everything is changing, and they don't know. So they don't learn about all the cultural things, the technological advances, the advances Israel has made in the world of pharmaceuticals are unbelievable. Stents started in Israel. Stents, I have a stent. It came 10 years after my heart surgery. That was invented here. So they've made tremendous contributions, and that's something you need PR. That's one thing. See, now, historically, the Jews have had a great PR. The Jews, not Israel, Jews. For example, I don't know if that happens in Israel, but in America, if we hear of something discovered or something new, the first thing we'll say is he Jewish? For example, when polio was cured, the first thing I heard was, a Jew cured polio. We have an international PR agency. A Jew did this, a Jew did that, a Jew did this. You know how many Jewish Nobel Prize winners? We're very good at it. We're better at it as Jews than Israel is.
As a country.
As Israel is as a country. And what happened in the United States was Israel, for a long time, controlled the PR machine in America. I did a debate once in Miami. I'll show you how ingrained the PR was. And I had on the head of the Young Israeli League at the University of Miami and the Young Egyptian League at the University of Miami. And we got letters and people calling in protest. There is no Egyptian viewpoint. How could you have an Egyptian on? That's how incredible and now, of course, that's PR goes two ways. But when I say about the kids with this, that thing, the flashing around the world, the news that breaks instantly, I can't imagine the changes that keep occurring through technology. You would think that technology would bring us closer together as a world. It seems that part it separates us in a sense. It's kind of, for example, if something big happened in the world right now, you'd know it in the next minute. There's no extra newspapers anymore. What's a headline? Everything's a headline.
Yeah, everything, and everyone can produce a headline. I wanna, with your permission, you mentioned that you're a very good friend of Netanyahu, and I know that you are a great admirer of President Obama, and you know him very well. So please help us to understand this toxic attitude between those two. Is it just politics, or is it chemistry, period?
Well, I think it you know, first, I'm not in the room with them when they're together. Two.
But I would want to be a fly on the wall with you and Netanyahu sitting down for a talk.
I would
these days
continue talking to them because I like them both. They're interesting dynamics. They come, in a sense, from a lot of the same places. Netanyahu was a fighter for his country. He could have sure gone into business and been very successful. Very smart guy. His father was, and Obama was on the law review at Harvard. Could have gone with any major law firm in America. Chose to be a street organizer in Chicago. So they come from roots, good roots. They both want the best for their country. It's a mistake for Israelis to think that Obama doesn't like them. I mean, come on.
But you know, he is very unpopular in Israel.
I understand. And by the way,
no matter what he does.
Let me preface this by saying it's easy for me to speak because I live 7,000 miles away, right? So it's very easy for me to say, well, you should be this way. When I'm trying to walk in the Israeli shoes. So what I try to do, even in an interview, I was talking about this last night, all my life, is try to step into the shoes of the person I'm interviewing. Why do they do what they do? What brings Netanyahu to think the way he thinks? Where did he come from? What happened to him? What brings Obama to think the way he thinks? I assume that when they were growing up, neither got up in the morning and said, I hate this guy, don't be stupid. They're trying as best they can. One has to deal from the perspective of each's country. Netanyahu has his country, Obama has his country. Their problems are different. Right? Netanyahu did not have to worry about health care. Obama passed the first health care in the history of the United States, the last industrialized country to have a health program. We now have 14 million people insured who weren't insured. That wasn't Netanyahu's worry. Obama doesn't have to worry about a rocket being fired at him from across the road. It's not Obama's worry. He has to care about it, but he can't think about it the first thing in the morning if he's got to think about a budget to be passed that Netanyahu is not thinking about. So you're dealing with perspective of two people. So there's no evil here. There's no evil intent. They're trying. So I hope it works. If they personally don't like each other, you can't do anything to mend that. I can't make people personally like each other.
And when you see these, you know, the struggle vis-a-vis the Iranian deal, Obama doing whatever he can to persuade that it's a good deal, and Netanyahu doing everything from across the seas and in the Capitol Hill to persuade not to vote for that deal. Do you think this is taking it a step too far? This would, you know, impact Jews in the United States, for example?
Well, it does, I'm sure. The Jews still are basically Democrats in the United States, so they vote 80%, they now vote probably 75%. It's not the number one issue, by the way, in America. The Iranian deal is not the number one issue in America. The number one issue is the economy.
Of course.
And, you know, the people have different issues. Again, it's your own perspective. As Tip O'Neill, the former leader of the House of Representatives, said, all politics is local. When you go into the polling booth, American doesn't go into the polling booth and think about Iran, I think. That's just my opinion. They're thinking about other things. How am I doing? Am I doing better? Who's this person? Is this person going to help me more than that person? If you're thinking about Iran, you're thinking, is Iran going to go to war with us? Americans, I don't think Iran is going to go to war with us. Israel might think Iran goes. So there's a different perspective. So it's easy for me to speak about it. What I say is, I hope it works. If we pass the bill in the United States, I hope it works. Don't you want it to work? Do you not want it to work? You want it to fail? What's your alternative? So you should want it to work. You may disagree with it, but don't you want it to work?
You're talking about the agreement, yeah.
Yeah, I want it to work. If it passes, I want it to work. I'd be absurd to say, well, I hope it fails. I want it to work. I don't want them to build anything. I don't want them to make any weapons of mass destruction. I don't want any of that. And I don't want people to make mistakes. I don't want someone to hit a button. I don't want Iran to have that button to hit. So I hope it works. And the technology that has improved the world with iPhones can improve the way inspections work. I don't think you can get away with it. I just think with the way we survey each other, if I can look into your house, if I can tap your phone, if I can interject into your web system, if I can go into you and confiscate your bank account through hitting a button, I can know if you're building a bomb. So I hope...
And if you have a secret service, a known secret service, that would help.
If it passes...
Like the Mossad.
If it passes, I hope it works. That's all I hope. So but again, as I keep saying, I'm 7,000 miles away. So I understand your perspective. Obama does sell more arms to Israel than I think any of the last three presidents combined.
So you say that you try to get into someone else's mind to understand shoes. So help us with this Trump phenomena, because we don't get it 7,000 miles across the border. And I know he's your friend, but, you know, and I know he's the best interviewer ever. I mean, you know you're going to have a good show. But this guy wants to be,
I know him for 40 years.
The most
Donald Trump is a true character. His ego is it's so beyond normal ego that it isn't even ego. In other words, it comes around so much that when Donald Trump sees you, Larry, how are you? You know, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? I'm the richest person here. I can buy. I'm a success. Donald, how are you going to move 14 million illegals back to their country? I'll take care of it. I'm a businessman. Business works. And so what you have is he's got a lead in the Republican polls. There's 183 Republicans running. I know there's 16, 17 are running. He has garnered like 20%, 21%. That's enough to lead in the polls. Of 17, he's got 20. He doesn't have 50%. He's got 21%. 21% of those. If he gets the nomination, the Democrats are praying that he's a Republican nominee, because it'll work thin after a while if he's not more specific.
So this is your polite way of saying he's a great guy, but I wouldn't appoint him president.
I wouldn't appoint him president. I would have him do a deal for me. You know, I'd have him a real estate deal. You know, when Jefferson made the purchase, when he made the Louisiana purchase, boy, if Trump were alive, he could have gotten San Antonio thrown into that. You know, no, I don't think he'll be the nominee. I'll tell you some other some pluses. He's raised terrific kids. He's a very good father. We were Fathers of the Year together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 2004, they give a Father of the Year award, and we were joint winners for Fathers of the Year. And he goes, the first thing he said to me was, "I'm Father. You're Father of the Year too? I'm a good father." I'm sure. No, but if you took "I" out of the English language, Donald Trump would be a suicide.
So shortly.
But personally, I like him because
yeah,
you got to tune that part out.
Tell you the truth, I'd love to interview him, though I think it's Mission
You
Impossible.
can get him. What do you mean Mission Impossible? He goes anywhere.
No, Mission Impossible to actually have a conversation with him.
You can't, because what happens, what he does is, and they deflect, an interview you try as hard as you can, you say is, what is your specific plan to build the wall you want to build? Because the estimate
on the border of Mexico.
It's going to cost billions. You know, I've done 600 deals. You think I can't do this deal? You say that China has got us, they own us. China's in free fall. The stock market's falling apart. I told you it would happen. Once I announced, China is so frightened that their businesses are in free fall, so it doesn't matter what you say. If China's stock market had gone through the roof, did I tell you? And if it fails, did I tell you? In other words, no matter what happens, Donald Trump is never wrong. It don't matter what happens. Donald Trump is not wrong.
I'm going to have what he's having one day. Tell me, so would you want to bet, do you think, I know that you really think highly of President Clinton. Do you think we're going to have another Clinton in the White House?
Right now, she'd win. Right now, but it's not right now. Our campaigns run forever.
And
and Hillary is, but she's got some problems now with this email accounts, and did she turn it over? Did she? See, I don't understand all of that.
No.
Because I don't email it. So I'll never have that problem. Naturally, if she would be indicted, that would be terrible. The campaign would be over. So I don't know where this is going. Joe Biden may get in. Joe is a terrific guy. He's one of the best guys I've ever known as a guy, and he's a terrific politician. He's very smart. And I hope he gets in, frankly.
Joe Biden, the vice president.
I like the mix.
Finally, I want to ask you.
Finally?
No, just for this part. We have another coming on. I could go on forever, but I don't know.
There's another part?
Look,
Your time is up? Your time is up?
No, we have another part. You're staying on stage. Don't worry.
I opened the refrigerator.
Do you want me to go on?
No, all right.
Can I go on?
What's next?
I'll go on for a little bit. If you had to rank, now I know it's not politically correct to ask, but I will do it anyway because I've asked you to open your shirt, so I mean.
What is it, Donna? Spittle it out.
So I know I said that you admire President Clinton, you look highly at President Obama. From all the prime ministers Israel had and leaders, if you had to rank number one, who would that be?
Again, I'm 7,000 miles away.
I know, but you know them. I'm from your 7 miles away perspective.
My favorite was Yitzhak Rabin. There was something about him. I loved talking to him. I did a historic interview one day with him and Arafat and King Hussein of Jordan, 3 of them live at the same time. I was here when he was running for office. He's a warrior who became a peace person. There was just something special about Yitzhak Rabin. I can't even pin it down. He was Clinton's favorite world leader of all time. I think it's the only time Clinton cried was when Yitzhak was killed. He told me that Yitzhak Rabin was a true friend, a friend of his, beyond politics, beyond U.S., Israel. They were friends. So he would be my... But I admired Golda. I loved Golda. Oh, Golda was fun. She was fun to talk to.
So now we see you're 7,000 miles away because she's not that.
Golda was like a tough, hell of a leader who was also my mother.
Yeah, I have this argument with my kids when they say, well, Israel had a female prime minister. And I said, well, there was Golda. But she came with, I don't know if she had like the feminist way of thinking, not of leading. But that's a different issue. Don't look at me like that.
What are you talking about?
It's a whole like feminist issue thing.
In other words, Golda is not a feminist to you.
No, she was a feminist, but I'm not sure that she implied a feminist way of thinking. I think she was more of the generation where a woman had to be more man than man to succeed, and I think it's changing. I think Hillary, for example, is a different example as a leader. It's not the same, but I don't think they're here to hear me, so I'm going to go on to my next questions, right? You weren't born king. You were born Zeiger.
Right.
Why did you change your name? Wasn't it good enough to be, to succeed on TV with a Jewish name?
My name was Larry Zeiger. My brother's name is Martin Zeiger. My father was Eddie Zeiger. My mother was Jenny Zeiger. And it's Z-E-I-G-E-R. And all my life, I wanted to be on the radio. I had no other wish. When I was 5 years old, I used to imitate radio announcers. I would run into the other room and say, the shadow knows, whatever they were saying. I just wanted to be on the radio. I would go to radio shows where they had studio audiences. And then my father died when I was 9.5, and we were on relief for 2 years. New York City bought my first pair of eyeglasses. I always knew what it was like to be really dirt poor. And I took a bunch of odd jobs, never went to college, worked here, worked there, always dreaming of being on the radio. And finally, a friend got me to go down to Miami, and I went around and did test audiences, and a small station hired me. And they said, the next opening, you got the job, and an opening occurred, and the general manager called me in the morning. I'm going on. I was on from 9 to 12, playing music, and then in the afternoon, I would do news and sports, and I would just be all over the station. And I loved it. So it's my first day. And it was 10 to 9, I'm going on at 9. He says, Larry, good luck. It's the start of your career. I was 22. What name are you going to use? I said, why? And he says, you can't use Zeiger. Now, this is 1957. I said, why? He said, well, it's too ethnic. People are not going to know how to spell it. You need another name. What? I'm going on the air. And he had the Miami Herald open. And there was an ad for King's Wholesale Liquors. True story. And he said, how about Larry King? Sounds good to me.
And the rest is history.
No, but the rest, I'll finish the story. I legally had it changed later. My mother was so funny, the classic Jewish mother. She would send me birthday cards, Dear Larry King. I started to be one word to her, Larry King. Anyway, now I go on the air. And all my life I wanted this. And the music's playing, Les Elgart swinging down the lane. And I fade the music to talk over the music like all good disc jockeys do. And nothing came out. And I brought the music up again. And I faded it down again. And I looked at the clock, and it's now 3 minutes after 9. If you're listening at home, all you hear is music going up and down, up and I really said to myself, I don't have the guts to do this. In other words, I wanted it all my life, and I'm scared and I'm nervous. And the general manager, God bless him, kicked open the door to the control room, and he said, this is a communications business, damn it, communicate. And here's what I did. He closed the door, I turned the mic on, and I did something that day, 58 years ago, that I would do today. I was honest with the audience. I said, good morning, my name is Larry King, and that's the first time I've ever said that, because I was just given that name. So as long as I last in this business, that's going to be my name. And another thing, I've always wanted to be on the radio. I can't tell you how much I want to be on the radio, but I'm scared. So I've been lowering the music pot and bringing it up, and lowering the music pot and bringing it up. And so I'm going to do the best I can, because this is what I've dreamed of. Now, in that, later on, years later, Arthur Godfrey, the great broadcaster, would tell me, well, what you did that day was the correct thing to do, because, one, you brought the audience into your situation. 2, any goof you made, if you miscued a record, this is first day. So I bring that to everything I do. So if something happens, just take the moment. That's why I always loved working live. I love the immediacy. So what if a fire started in the studio? I would say, there's a fire in the studio. I was on the air in Los Angeles during an earthquake. And I said, gee, this is an earthquake. Wow. We're moving, folks. Let's look at this together. Take the audience into your shoes. Once you do that, they can like you or not like you, but you have been open.
And that is 57 years ago. 57 years now, alive and kicking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Larry King, please.
What's next?
Yeah, you stay on stage. You're not going. We're staying.
I stay here.